So it really starts with my grandfather. He studied the craftsmanship in Germany, and he ended up moving to Cairo, to Egypt, because there was this huge luxury boom at the time, and they were looking for craftsmen. And that's where he met my grandmother. And eventually, they ended up in Cape Town. Then started the company in their living room, and they slowly but surely started, buying more and more machinery, finding more and more staff, and when they felt confident that they could take that plunge, they did so. So Cape Cobra was started with a vision to create the finest luxury handbags on the African continent.
Justine Schäfer is the creative director and third-generation leader of Cape Cobra Leathercraft, Africa's premier luxury leather brand founded by her grandfather in 1972. After studying at Parsons New York, she returned to the atelier, rising through the ranks to lead over 80 artisans. Today, Justine drives the brand's global vision, championing sustainability, ethical sourcing, local empowerment, and driving the benefaction of African raw materials into timeless luxury pieces.
Heavy is the head to wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.
Thank you so much for making time. I want to tell you a story. My fiance and I went to, what's the pink hotel, the fancy one? The Mount Nelson. We're there having high tea. She loves high tea. And I come across, I think you guys have that store there.
Sort of, yeah.
Oh, it's like a pop-up or whatever that is. And I just saw some of the products. And I was like, no, man, I have to Google, what is this? And then I find out it's a South African brand, and I just go down this wormhole, and I'm like, oh my word, who's behind it? And then I find you, and then I'm like, I have to get in touch, and we did. So I really appreciate you coming onto the show. So I think before we get into the story of the brand, I'd just love to know if you I'm gonna just paint a picture. We're at a fashion week in Paris, and someone asks you what you do professionally. What is that short elevator pitch answer?
So I am the creative director for my family business called Cape Cobra, and we specialize in producing and designing high-end handbags and accessories made out of exotic leather goods.
Incredible.
Leathers, yeah.
Incredible. And just,
Cape Town.
In Cape Town, yeah. So it's Cape Cobra
Leathercraft. Yeah.
Leathercraft, that's it. So if we are now watching a documentary one day on Netflix and it's about the Cape Cobra brand,
yes,
how would you envision the beginning of that story? And obviously being from the family, maybe it'd be beautiful to hear it from you. How does the brand start? And if you could paint that picture, if we're reading the book about Cape Cobra, what is the introduction to that story?
So it really starts with my grandfather. He studied the craftsmanship in Germany.
Incredible.
And he ended up moving to Cairo, to Egypt, because there was this huge luxury boom at the time, and they were looking for craftsmen.
Yes.
And that's where he met my grandmother. And political, stuff made them move to Germany, and they just weren't happy there. And Lebanon, and eventually they ended up in Cape Town. And the reason why he started the company is because he wanted to produce the top quality on the African continent.
Wow.
So he at the time still had a job and was working, but then started the company in their living room, and they slowly but surely started, buying more and more machinery, finding more and more staff. And when they felt confident that they could take that plunge, they did so. So Cape Cobra was started with a vision to create the finest luxury handbags on the African continent. And my grandfather was always in the pursuit for high quality. And that's really what started that passion, So where the name actually comes from is they were sitting around the dining room table, and they wanted something that would root the name back to where the origin was. And obviously the Cape Cobra comes from the Western Cape. So They felt like that was something that could always make people think of Cape Town. I don't know if it does, but that's where the name comes from as well.
That's incredible. So what year was that he
That
started?
was in 1971. So they pretty much kicked off, I guess a year later. Yeah,
That's
1972 is when we
incredible.
officially were registered.
And so then who comes... Was the brand sort of pretty global then?
Yeah, so actually, originally when we started, we were mainly focused on our own product range, which was the Cape Cobra collection. And then, politics. South Africa is a country known for ups and downs. We had sanctions at one point, and we would have to, it kind of led us down the road of having to produce for other brands too. Okay. So the company has always ventured into different niches, based on the industry, based on the political landscape, etc. But when we started, we were very sought after, especially tourists that travel to South Africa, Japanese tourists, Germans, Americans, etc. And then we had to pivot. And that led us to producing for top brands like Tiffany & Co, Michael Kors collection, Judith Lieber.
Are you serious?
Everything made right here in Cape Town, which I think is always so this hidden gem. We always assume that luxury is made in Europe, and that's what the world tells us. Mm-hmm. But here we are producing top quality products in South Africa,
That's incredible that you guys have kept it, because there were so many brands, I believe, being made here in Cape Town. And then a lot of those factories, still some of them exist today, but a lot of them had fallen off, like the mass manufacturing. But here you guys are, and you're still pushing through. And so who took over after your...
Yeah, so my father studied the craftsmanship too, and he came into the business at a very young age, kind of finished school, went to do his apprenticeship, came back with top grades, and he came into the company. It was very important for him when he joined that he wasn't just daddy's boy coming into the company, so he really equipped himself to run the company, and he trained the staff, the next generation of artisan in-house, because there's no formal training in South Africa, so everything has to be done in-house. So my father was in the company, my aunts were part of the company, my uncles. It was a real family business. Wow. I mean, my grandparents didn't have much, and they started it with very little. So everyone was involved, everyone was hands on decks, weekends were in the factory. It was ingrained in all of us. Currently, my father's still in the company. He runs our production, or oversees our quality and our production. And then I joined 15 years ago.
Incredible.
Yeah, I want to say not even by choice. It wasn't really something that I wanted to do. I was always family politics, and you hear it growing up, and I was like, nope, I'm not joining that company. Yes. But your passion, or they say it's in your blood, and it is, it eventually takes over.
Definitely.
So I studied fashion design in Cape Town at Cape Tech, and then went to Parsons and did further courses, etc. And while I was in New York, I kept dropping into these meetings with my dad when he was meeting with the brands.
Yes.
And obviously then it kind of started boiling, and the interest started growing. And then I came back from my time in New York, and I just said to my dad, okay, so maybe I'll come in, but I want to start bottom up. I want to grow into the company and not just come with this silver platter and just be handed the next generation.
Absolutely. But I think the fact that you're already putting yourself out there, trying to study it and trying to better your knowledge in the space, just shows that that's knowledge being passed down, and yet you guys don't take that for granted. So that's incredible. And then today you're a creative director. So tell me, how did you start in the company? Where did you start, and how did you work your way up?
So I actually started in quality control with my grandmother at the time. She was still in the business. And I spent about a year there. And at the time, it was, like I said, you come into a company just because you're family. It doesn't mean that you have a role, So I felt like that was a space I was going to learn a lot in. And that was the need of the company at the time. So I learned there, and I spent a year there under her eye, and also learning about quality. And now looking back, I think that's exactly where I was meant to be, because I learned about the product like from the inside out, you know.
Yes.
And if it wasn't for quality, we wouldn't be in business anymore. So for me, it was like learning the foundation and the integrity of the company was that quality aspect. So I spent a year there and then moved into product development and design, and spent some time there. Then I moved into business development. Then I moved into marketing, moved into sales. So I kind of like pivoted throughout the company, which I think was also essential to where I am now, because it takes years, and even like now you're always learning, you know, so you're always learning. And the more you know about your company, I think the better, because it makes you strong, you know.
And I've had some incredible creative directors on the show, and a lot of them just talk about like wearing so many different hats and having to understand a business in so many different corners and understanding so many different aspects of how things work together and working in those different environments. So I 100% agree with you. So I think it's important stepping into that role, having a good feel of how everything works. So that's incredible. And when do you start taking on the creative director role?
I think it also came a little bit organically. Okay. You know, we decided to like really push for like relaunch of the brand about 8 years ago. We brought in a new marketing director, and she was just like, the story is so insane. Like, you guys have everything that it takes to build this again, you know, like, because I must be honest, our focus really shifted into production. And so we kind of like dabbled in it. We started with like redefining who we are, looking at like our foundation, like what is our bag? Like, what's the bag that like kind of is the Cape Cobra bag? Who's the client, etc. So we did that whole journey again, and I guess also having me on board, like with the younger blood, and you know, so it started and it was a journey. It's still a journey, but I feel like the last 2 years is really where I feel like my vision is coming through, like where I feel like this is something like I can see, like I see it evolving, you know, and you also hear it, you know, people comment on it, and it's hard because you're also given something to a degree and it comes the way it was, but now you have to turn it into your own without breaking the integrity of exactly, the very thing. You know, and also knowing like the people that have supported us throughout the decades, like who are they and why do they pick our bag over another bag, you know? So it's a growth. It was a slow transition, and we still have our classic bags. We still have those bags that have been with us for 50 years. Incredible. And they're still selling, you know, but it was also like redesigning them, the phones, technology, needs, travel, everything's changed, you know. So it's like we had to evolve the brand to where we are now, you know. And
incredible, yeah. Some of them are just classic. I was going through some of your catalogs of my fiance as well. We're just like blown away. It's like the styles, the quality, the originality. It really feels. It's, you know what's crazy about it? It still feels like the best kept secret. It doesn't feel like this. I guess that comes with luxury, but you know, it still feels like it has so much room for so many other things. Tell me, from a production standpoint, are you guys still producing for a lot of brands?
So we produce a very small quantity, yeah. Small, yeah. Okay. We've really transitioned, and I think that also came from me. You know, I was just like, we employ at the moment around 70 people.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's 70 people that are on our shoulders, you know, that are we have to support. And when you produce for brands, what happens often is they put you into their production cycle. You're the one season, this next season, you've got orders and orders, and you cannot keep up, you know, like it's huge, and you cannot not deliver. So we really built ourselves up to deliver for these brands. And from one season to the next, they cancel, or they decide they're not going to run with this product anymore. You know, the CEO makes a decision, whatever it is, and suddenly you have no work, you know? So that was also one of the things that we went through around that time, 8 years ago. And that was like, kind of for me, it was like, I never want to sit in that position. I want to like be able to determine my own destiny. And I want my staff to be secure. I want security. I want to forge my own future, you know? And And we have these beautiful products. We have this incredible country. We have these amazing artisans. I want people to know that it's made here, you know? So it was like, sometimes it's hush hush when you're doing for like luxury brands, not Tiffany's and stuff. They were actually quite open about made in South Africa.
Okay.
So it was also a little bit of like an organic pivot, you know?
Yes.
So we have the artisans that, you know, they are our life and we are their lifeline. So it's like, I don't know, it just became an organic transition to switch. So at the moment we're about, I want to say 80% our own production and 20% external production. And kind of that's where I'd like it to be, because I always feel like you do need a blend, you know. We learn when we produce for other brands. You're learning about different styles of bags and different production or different construction techniques, etc. So you're always learning. And if it wasn't for producing for those brands, I don't think we would be here either, because we've learned, you know, through their production, you know. So it's been a journey, and now we're on the next phase.
It's incredible. I love that. And that's so well put. It's like you don't want to leave your fate in someone else's hands and based on their delivery and how much they bring in. It's like, no, take control. And this way, you know, the sky's the limit, and it's your guys' pace. It's your guys' quality. It's your guys' quantity that you want to push. I love that. I love that. That's amazing. And tell me, so where do you envision the sort of next couple of years? Like if you had to look through the lens of what Cape Cobra looks like in the next 5-10 years, what do you envision for the brand?
Well, I mean, there's a lot, I guess, you know. I believe in consistency, really consistency. And, you know, we look at a lot of brands nowadays and you've got these high peaks and then these big falls. And for me, consistency, slow growth, and just being around for a long time, you know, that's super important. So now that we're kind of like, I want to say we've been around forever, like 53 years, but we're also still growing, you know, there's still development happening. So we've got a couple of things that we want to do in terms of like the branding side of the business still, and, you know, like really still developing our product range and becoming better. But I would say we're definitely looking at some global stores, global presence, creating some distribution points that are like, you know, that instant gratification, with focus probably on America and Europe to begin with. And then the Middle East is a strong market for us. So yeah, so definitely having an bigger international presence would be one of our focal points. And then I want to link again our factory or atelier with our retail space, you know, so people can learn about the journey of making a bag, and they can, you know, the consumer deserves to know. Like if you can walk into an environment and see how your product is made, and you can see who's making it, and you can be part of that creative journey, I think it's so empowering to the client, you know. So we want to look at incorporating that into our space again, and just having like an open floor, which is not usual for what we do, you know. But I think people want to be part of things, you know, and I want them to be part of it. So for me, it's just building longevity and building something that's scalable and sustainable, and that can still support our artisans here and our growth. But yeah, I would love to say we're the next, you know, Loewe. That would be amazing. Loewe pre whatever they just went through now, for me, was just like my ultimate. I just think like from an artistic perspective, like their craftsmanship was always beautiful.
Yes.
The designs were always like well constructed and well thought out, but not over branded, you know. So I just think like that's kind of our space, you know. It's a very discerning space. So.
Yes. Where are you guys available? Like, what is that?
So we do have quite a few stockists in the US.
Yes.
We have one stockist in Dubai. We're just branching into Europe now. It's our second year of trial.
Yes.
So it's quite exciting. Like there's a lot
Incredible.
of organic growth.
And in South Africa?
Oh, we have definitely more presence in the Western Cape.
Okay.
Like a lot of those top hotels stock our bags, like you saw there.
Yeah.
And then we have our flagship store in Bree Street at 43 Bree. So we're part of a luxury concept store.
Yes.
So there's Klux GDT. They take the the ground floor, they have fashion, we have art, homeware. It's just such an amazing creative space to walk into.
I need to come past there.
Yeah.
43 Brie. Okay.
Right next to Villa 47. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's an amazing space, like really beautiful. Everyone that comes in there is like, wow, you know. And also there, like, again, collaboration. We actually joined that space, I think 5 years ago, maybe even now. We used to be attached to our factory, and then the factory moved and we kind of got left behind there.
Yes.
And I called Malcolm and Christian and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a new space. If you guys know anything cool, you know. They're like, why don't you just move in here? We'll move out, like our studio. So we ended up moving in there, and they're just such geniuses on the creative space, and they've just been such amazing partners to work with, to like, and they also push you, you know, and that working together creates strength. And I love that, you know, you're not on your own. You're like together you create a good energy, you know. So the space is not only Cape Cobra, it has this like mixed energy, which
Incredible.
I love, you know.
Incredible. I love that. Tell me, you mentioned a brand that inspires you. What other brands do you look up to design-wise today? And maybe also over the last couple of years, what are the brands that have really inspired you and that you look up to and you're like, wow, or designers that you look up to and you're like, wow, I love what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, I think globally, I always think like The Row is an incredible brand. Mm-hmm. I'm very like quiet luxury. I love this like whole unbranded world of like no logos or very like this, and it's always been my preference. Maybe because we work with exotic skins, and I just respect the leather so much. Like yes. It's got this beautiful detail, and I don't want to plaster something on top of it. So I think like brands like The Row are like definitely my top, one of my top. And then locally, wow, I mean, the work that's coming out of South Africa at the moment is just crazy. Unbelievable. Yeah. Like there's so many. I mean, Vivier's is one of the brands that I love to work with. Yes. Lacania was also like a legend, just amazing. Like there's so many. It's like, where do you even start? But yes. I think like if I look at when we were producing for some of the brands, and you're like African luxury, there was nothing. There was very few, you know, there were a few designers, but it was hard to like make that, you know, like that impact. And now when you look at design, you look to Africa. I think the world looks to Africa. Like
100%.
The design is just that's coming out of here, the creative flair, the energy. There's no pushback. They just go for it. And I love that energy. And I think to be part of that movement now, like as an old company or an old brand that's been around forever, to see this like push of this like talent and it's just so inspiring. And I love the collaborative space that's going on right now. Like people aren't scared of collaboration. Like let's empower each other. Let's pull each other up and help each other get there, because there's no other way. It's very hard to do it on your own, and it takes years. So if you can do it together, what an amazing gift, you know?
Incredible. What collaborations have you done?
We've collaborated, like I said, with Lausanne from Vivier's.
Yes.
We are working on a couple of things.
Okay.
Dare I say? We've worked with Maxoza, Laduma. So again,
incredible. Have you guys done something?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, more to come, hopefully. But, you know, I think the thing is, it's like I like to work with people I enjoy. You know, collaboration can also be hard, because what happens is one person always works harder than the other.
Yes.
And then you end up pulling. So I think if I can work with people that I enjoy, like the energy must be right, the synergy must be right, and then I think it's a great collaboration when it's effortless, you know. And also we work in Africa, we work in South Africa. Not everything goes right all the time. So you kind of have to figure out how to work and what works and what can we do and what can we achieve in the time frame.
Yes.
And that's fun, you know, so.
That's incredible. Yeah, I see it. I see you guys doing, like I see the Makosa print on a bag. I see you know, you guys collaborating with Nelson Makamo, like one of his artist faces on one of your bags. Like there's so much room for growth, and there's so much room for collaboration in what you guys do, especially with the knowledge you guys bring. I can just see this like infused, especially with like the quality of the very leathers you guys use. That speaks our country anyway, you know, that speaks Africa, that speaks South Africa. And it's like, it's such a beautiful thing, and it has so much space for, like, I could see you guys having your New York store and walking past your flagship store in New York, and it's just like, I mean, it has to happen. It's not even a question.
No, it will happen.
Yeah, it has to.
Look, we have an incredible product, like without doubt, you know. I think what's amazing about what we've worked on is like just the way that we've learned to work with our beautiful raw materials, you know, like all of our ostrich leather comes from South Africa. It's farmed in South Africa. It's farmed in the Karoo. It's an arid region, so there's no deforestation. Ostriches are farmed in open enclosures, you know. They use the leather, the feathers, the meat, the bones, the eggshell, everything gets used. Amazing. You know, when we were in COVID, I did another round of like our sustainability, you know, like going to visit the farms and the tanneries, etc. And I think I walked through, because I've always known very clearly what my purpose is in our company and in what we do. But when I went through the farms and I looked at all the people that are involved, all the hands and the passion and the years, this is generational, like work, craftsmanship. Incredible. They take such purpose and pride in what they do. And I realized, for me, it's not just about the handbag. It's every bag we sell is supporting that entire value chain. Ecosystem. And that is like so powerful. And using a South African raw material and making it into a global product is powerful, you know. It changes lives. And I always say our bags are it's not just about the bag. It's like a 3-dimensional thing where you're supporting people, you're supporting the industry, the farming industry, the local. Like when we were working with a lot of the brands, a lot of the South African leather was imported from Italy, beneficiated there, and then brought back here. And it's not right, you know. We're now beneficiating our raw material here, and we're producing a finished product here. Incredible. And it's a first world product, you know, that can go out and, you know, it stands next to any brand in the world, and it's proud, you know. So I think that's like amazing for me. So
incredible. I love that. That's so powerful, and it's better than the other products. And it's up to all of us to really make sure that happens, you know, because the bigger it gets, the greater for the country, the greater for, you know, you guys should have thousands of artisans working at the factory. You know, you guys should be employing thousands of people. So I see it, even though it's a small luxury boutique brand, it's like, it has the power to change lives and really carve out something super, super important. So we 100% back you. Tell me, from your perspective, is there any other brands that you see locally that you are loving? Are there other sort of, I don't want to call them competitor brands, because I think you guys are in a lane of your own, but are there other brands that, you know, you've got your eye on that are doing something incredible in somewhat of a similar space?
I'm so lame like this. Or did they say stay in your lane? Somebody once said that to me, stay in your lane. And I really focus on what we do. Like, love that. I really, I have 2 young kids, so I must be honest. My life has been like a little bit of a wishy-washy at the moment. There are so many, I think I'm only coming out now. Like my youngest son just turned 2, and I feel like I'm like seeing some light again and able to engage again. And so it's been so cool for me to be like thrown back into the creative space and actually like see what's changed. Like, so, I mean, there are some bags, but I think what I love is just the way that people analyze their creativity, you know, how we make something with nothing, you know, like we're not in Italy. We don't have everything around us. So our artisans here, they create something with very little. And I think that's
Amazing.
such a powerful space to be at. I mean, if you go to Africa, the store in the waterfront, for instance, there's a store that has only got South African artisan, like South African made products. You look around that store and you go, wow, this is all made here. It's like international quality products. Like, it's just incredible. So I think it goes from, I mean, I think there's a lot of amazing work going into like homeware, art, like furniture, like design is so much more like, you know, multi-purpose nowadays. I'm not even just looking at the fashion scope. I think there's so much inspiration across the design like network or whatever. I mean, if I look at like Laurie from Weed, his work is insane, you know, like I love, and when you go to the studio, and that's my favorite part, is when you get to go to the back end of the company and you see how everything's made and the people and the creativity and the testing and the trialing. It's so inspirational, you know. But yeah, unfortunately I don't have much time, so it's always like you know, like if somebody invites me over, I'll come, like for sure, but it's like finding it is always a bit of a challenge, you know. So yeah, there's definitely lots going on, and I think that's insane. Like,
tell me if someone is listening to this conversation right now and their dream is to design bags and walk somewhat of a similar path to yours, you know, no two paths are the same. If someone's listening and they see themselves in you and the conversation we're having, what is some advice you would give to that person, and, you know, maybe a younger version of yourself taking on somewhat of a similar journey? What words of guidance would you give someone like that?
I would just always say patience, like patience, and learn. Like, just take it and learn whatever you can. Like, there's so much strength in years of like doing something, but obviously that takes time, you know. So learning and really knowing what you want to do, like what is your craft, like what do you want to pursue, and focus on that, like, and entrench yourself in that, because being a master, what you do is really special, you know. And I think it would be like back to that phrase, stay in your lane. You know, there's so much confusion and there's so much out there, and it's like you want to do it all, right? We want to do it all, but it's like just focusing on what do you want out of it, you know, like what is your end goal, and then making sure that you plant your seeds for that, because it takes years. It does take years, and some people are lucky, they come out and it's like boom and it's quick, but most of the time I think it's that plowing, like all the time, putting in. That's really where you see your biggest growth, and also being able to look back and then be like, oh wow, you know, wait, that conversation I had like 6 years ago with somebody, and now it's only coming into like fruition. I used to see it a lot with my father, like working with him and alongside him, and he would do anything for everyone. And he's a real ambassador for young designers. Like, he was always like, sure, bring them in. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is wasting his time again, another one, whatever it is. And years later, they would come back and they were ready, you know? So, and so I think I just, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who that person's going to be in your path and in your journey. So treat everyone with respect and really give them time, because we were all there once upon a time, right? And I know time is of essence. We don't have much of it. But it's just like a little bit of something that you can give somebody, gives them an opportunity, you know? But yeah, if you're in the design space, it's definitely patience. You've got to work hard. Like, you really do have to work hard. Like, I mean, I'm in the business. It's family business, but I work tirelessly, like all the time, you know? I'm inbred into my company. I love it. I love what I do. I'm so passionate about what I do. That's another important thing. Be super passionate, because times are tough. And when it gets tough, that's the only thing that keeps you going, you know? And build an amazing team. I don't know, building a team, like, you don't want to get to the top alone. Like, you want a team. You want amazing people next to you, like, that are going to grow with you. And I think that's something especially as I get older, like, I value that the most, is like the people around me, because you know, they inspire me.
I love that. That's powerful. It's a really great answer. What does a day in your life look like? Like, do you have different tasks that you're sort of managing? Is it how much of your time are you spending in the sketching creative space? Is there a creative team that's doing that? Like, take me through like what a week in your life would look like, for instance.
Yeah, I'm the do-it-all kind of person.
Yeah.
So I wear many hats
Yes.
in our company. I would say our creative energy is very little, actually, or creative space is very little. We do 2 collections annually.
Wow.
So we obviously build into those. We do our trend research. We have a team that assists with that.
Yes.
I have a product development team. So we do a lot of sampling before we get to an actual bag. You know, we look at what sold well this previous season. What are we loving? What are we tired of? You know, what are we bringing back? Sometimes we bring vintage bags back. So we do a lot of like mock-up prototyping.
Yes.
Like I said, I have a team that I work with, and then I kind of like come in and I'm like, no, this is too like this and this is too like that, and then we eventually come to where we want to be. Also, our journey is a lot to do with the leathers and what we have available to us, you know. I could easily say, oh, I want to do hot pink and da da da, but if that's not what we have, we can't work with that, you know.
Yes.
So there's a lot of organic, like kind of like the journey to get to the end of the collection or to the start of production is a lot of like, okay, cool, love that. No, this isn't working, you know. So we a lot of it has to do with the leather as we get it.
Oh, that's
and I think also you
incredible.
get the leather and you like lay it out and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Or maybe this didn't work at all. So it's a bit of that journey. And
that
we
the
have
product
that
almost dictates sometimes
totally.
where you guys need to
like,
go. Wow, that's so
my
interesting.
marketing department would like me to have an inspiration board at the start of every season, but sometimes it only comes towards the end.
Yes.
It is like, again, I think it's a journey. It's organic. It always ends up with the best product. And and then, you know, to shoot, you know, that's kind of where you end up, I guess. But so my days they involve everything. Production runs. I check production all the time. I'm walking through production, checking quality, picking up staff things, payments, sales, obviously, customers. We do a lot of like shows. Like we travel a lot for what we do because a lot of our market is global.
Yes.
So the days involve a lot of everything, which is difficult because they would say like, don't micromanage, but you know, it is what you do, kind of. So I think that's also for me a very important step now is to really be able to take a step back and allow people to now, you know, take their own in the company too. Yeah. So we have a team now that is working on the like more creative side of the company and pushing that. And then I would say I'm the fun police. I bring it back to like reality, you know, because there are limitations. And of course, like that's what 15 years of my business have taught me, you know.
Got you. Tell me, what portion of the market is global, like just high level? Is majority of the sales coming from abroad, really?
Yeah, I would say around 85 to 90% is international.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think the South African consumer, we have some amazing clients that really support us and have engaged with us, and like thank God for them, you know. And you know, they put their trust into us, and I appreciate that very much. But I think a lot of, like, if you look at the majority of the market, first of all, it's price point. Secondly, it's, you know, like brand, like who are they trusting? Who do they want to be? You know, so your top brand players like Gucci and Louis Vuitton and Prada and whatever, they will obviously, you know, generally take preference when people have the disposable income. But we're seeing a big shift, like
100%.
Big shift, like the younger generation, even the more educated the consumer is on the product, and also knowing that they don't have something that's mass produced. I think it's such a luxury, you know. So we've got a big shift of consumer that's like coming and investing into our pieces from a young age, which is so special for me to see like somebody, you know, save up for a piece. Like that's a yes, like that's such a win. So you know, locally we actually I would say it's the lesser side of our business. That's why our focus has always been international, because it's really the driving force of the business. But it's not to say I don't value our local audience, like, but it's just one of those things, you know.
100%. I think that's going to shift drastically. I really do. I mean, I definitely see it becoming such a key collector's item, and you know, I think people are listening. I do imagine it, you know, being that iconic South African bag that when it does click for everybody. I mean, you guys got the scoop. So tell me, what is, if you don't mind sharing, what is the most expensive piece that you guys have?
So we can go all the way to like probably like 350,000 Rand on a piece, which is like if you're going for a nice travel bag, in crocodile leather. But I would say our starting price point is around like 20,000, 16,000. Right now, iconic would be our Lolita, or our Lolita is like our bag that is just taking off. And it's the first time I've also seen a bag like pretty much go viral. We do lower scale production, you know, we don't do mass production, and this bag is done really well.
Incredible.
It's a bag that you can wear in like 3 or 4 different ways. It's super transitional.
Isn't that
little,
yeah, incredible. Love it. Looks amazing.
It's our fun bag. And then I would say if you're investing into like one of our timeless pieces, it would be our Pico. Okay. So the Pico has like a little bit of a backstory. So we have a lot of like vintage frames and handles, etc. And we designed the bag. It was one of our archives that we kind of like brought back when we built our legacy collection. And the bag was actually named after my grandmother's first little teddy bear that she got in the hospital, and it was called Pico. So we thought it was a cute little bag, so we named it Pico as well. And the bag has done exceptionally well over the last like 12 years. We run the bag in 4 different sizes. The wooden handle is made locally as well.
Yes,
it's actually
a
piece of a bank counter, the current batch that we have. So it's a repurposed bank counter from the West Coast. So I call it our money bag at the moment. So that would be my, like, if I had to pick one bag, like for an investment, like something that I feel like is going to grow in value, is our Pico.
That's my favorite bag that you guys have. It's beautiful.
That one, the Pico. Yeah, it's and now we made it in the mini, so you have a little daughter and mommy combo. Incredible. It's a beautiful piece, and I wear mine every day, and I love it. I love the bag.
Incredible. Yeah. Anything else from your side before I ask you the last question?
Oh God, what is the last question?
No, nothing too crazy.
No, I think it's just, I guess for me, if I look at Cape Cobra, if I look at myself, it's like we're really a brand that supports our people, you know, supports the artisans, supports our country. Like, I'm so proudly South African, and I love the fact that these products are made here, that we can produce luxury on the African continent of this standard, and that we can show the world that we're just as good, if not even better, you know. Like, I think it's such a proud moment, and I've been like waving the flag forever, but now I'm seeing this like evolution of African design. I think it's so impactful, and we have such a space right now, and it's just to keep supporting. Like, they say support local, but know what you're supporting. Like, know that you are supporting people, you're supporting education, you're supporting beneficiation of raw material. I think when you know where your money is going, it's so much easier to also part from it, because you work for your money, you know. And knowing that you're buying something of quality, something that's not going to be thrown away, something that you're going to wear for the next, I don't know, 10 years, depends how you wear it, you know. But
and you pass it down
to your children one day.
Absolutely.
Like, it's such an amazing gift, you know. And to know that you had an impact on someone's life is really cool, you know. Incredible. So I think that movement, I see it happening, and I really encourage people to. I know it's out of a lot of people's price points, but you know, if you can, why not? And
absolutely. And
come see it. Like, we also do like atelier tours, so if ever anyone's interested, get in touch, and you know, we offer them, and I want people to be part of it. So
incredible. Last question. I'd like to know, how would you like to be remembered one day?
I think it's just leaving an imprint on people's lives, knowing that I gave people a purpose, and knowing that I gave people an opportunity, and knowing that I did something good for my country, like, is really, and for my children, you know, like, I think that's that. What more can you take with you? You know, what more can you leave behind? Should I say? That would be a gift. Yeah.
Incredible. Well, this episode is going to live forever. So, what message would you leave your kids if they watch this in 20 years?
Yeah. Oh goodness. No, just kidding. Well, I was away for a purpose. That's what I would say. You know, it's hard being a working mom and putting so much into your company. There's a lot of guilt attached to it. But I always know that I'm doing it for them, and really that I'm doing it for the people that we support. You know, like, I always say to them, I have to do this because I know that I'm supporting, like, the 60 people and their families, you know. So what we do is far bigger than just my job. It's like really the whole team that we support, you know. And obviously, like I said, mom guilt, but I love what I do, and I do it with so much pride, and I come home with so much more energy. So I hope they'll still love me after 20 years.
I'm sure they will. From my side, Justine, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for making time. I think you guys have such an exceptional product, and I think it's just a matter of time, you know, like, the Gucci and Louis Vuitton stores seem to always be busy. It's time we start focusing all of our energy into South African product, because I do believe, like you're saying, our designers are some of the best. Our product, our artisans, I think we have some of the best skills, especially when it comes to fashion. I think we're seeing this massive renaissance happen across the board, and I think you guys are at the forefront of a genre, if I can call it that, and you are leading it. And I think it's just a matter of time that everyone understands and catches on locally, you know. And even though you guys have been around for such a long time, I think there's going to be a massive shift happening, and I think that has a lot to do with your creative direction and you leading it. And you know, it's definitely caught my eye, and it's, I'm sure, catching a lot of people at the same time. And I just want to give you your flowers and say you guys are doing an incredible thing, and it feels like it's just the beginning of this incredible journey that you guys are on. So thank you for making time, and I look forward to having this conversation again. I'd love to come to the factory. You know, in fact, tell my fiance, I've been telling, it's one of my dreams to make a bag one day. So hopefully I can come and learn from you guys. Learn. Amazing. So thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. I hope we can do this in the factory, and maybe, you know, meet some of your team and get a little bit of an in-depth story of some of the people that have been involved. I'd love to do that, and you know, maybe we can then do the next one when your store opens up in Soho, and we can do it in your store. We're getting there. Amazing. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I appreciate it. That was incredible. Thank you.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.